Finally made it back here. It's a beautiful day. Temps in the mid 80s, but it's already late afternoon. So I'm going to try to make one more pass with the sander on this and roll out all the rest of the Primacon I have on both sides. Yeah, that works. Brush is too big. Okay, just threw the second coat on the boot stripe this morning. Let's have a look. It bled again a little bit. That's all right. That's not so all right. What the heck? I think I'm going to let Lyle touch this up. She's much better at that sort of thing than I am. Wow. Damn it. Should have waited till it was dry. But I'm going to be gone for a couple of days. I want to get it off of here. And I got a lot to do with the rest of the afternoon. Oh man. Well, that's on the bottom line doesn't matter because that's going to get an anti-foul on it. I tried. It's just so rough. It's hard to mask it right. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. My friends, we are ready for anti-foul. I don't have it yet. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to use, although I have ideas. Man, she's looking a lot better. That looks terrific. Welcome back. Got back from a couple days on the boat yesterday. Got a lot done. What did I do? Oh yeah. Yeah, finished priming the hull. Got a second coat on the boot stripe. Took a look at trying to get started removing the PSS stripless seal because I want to go with a stuffing box. I was just messing around with that because I didn't have time to get in further into the whole deck repair thing on the aft section of the deck, which is the next thing. Over the last few weeks, I've found some real bargains. It pays to look around. I've been looking for months for some of the materials I'm going to need. From a local mill, I found these very lovely pieces of white oak, 2 inches thick, about 102 inches long each. I had some yellow pine, some very long pieces of nice yellow 2x8 that I was going to try to use to replace deck beams because some of that was done with yellow pine. The really, really long one that's forward, because it's 104 inches, I forgot about that when I bought these. They didn't have any longer ones anyway. I may replace that with yellow pine. It's in great shape except the ends are a little rotten, but we'll see. Or I might have to piece together one of these. I don't want to do that, do it in multiple parts, but it'll be plenty strong, especially if I leave a full thickness chunk in the middle part. I'm about to start. I have my specs, my rough specs for the rough cuts I'm going to need for those beams, which I'm going to do here. In a minute, I'm going to lay all that out and see if I really have enough here, and maybe a little left over for something else, which I'll show you in a minute. I've also been puzzling over how to get adequate fuel storage on the boat, just to get her in the water and start the engine, back her out of the haul out slip and maneuver her over to wherever it is she's going to be nearby. I can't really afford the 2 pre-made tanks I want to use as saddle tanks. And I can't afford to have custom ones made. They would take too long anyway. They won't be ready in time. We're looking at launching either late this spring or late in the summer.
So I figured, why not something temporary? I'm going to delete the centrifugal tank anyway and replace it with a homemade water tank because originally that was a water tank. I'm going to use the old one as a template for that. But meanwhile, I was been looking and looking and looking and looking for months for one that will fit under the cockpit, and I finally found this bad boy. It's made by AFP. I don't know if they're still in biz, probably under a different name. Very reputable aluminum tank company. This one was used for gasoline. It looks pretty clean. I didn't use my borescope on it because that thing's a piece of junk, but I have been soaking. I had a gallon of gasoline in here. I've been sort of sloshing it around every day and letting it sit. I drained some off. It looks pretty good. There's a little glazing, but it's coming loose, which is important. I'll probably do another pass with some fresh gasoline and then soap and water, and of course, let it dry completely. I can't pressure test it till I get some new fittings on it. I do have the pickup tube that goes in here. It came with a hose with a squeeze bulb, which is just totally dry rotted, but they're cheap. There was a clock type float gauge here. I'm going to go ahead, even though I didn't want to initially, I'm going to go ahead and replace it with a sender that'll, an electric sender that'll operate an outboard gauge. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to use that in one of the new tanks eventually. Filler neck is at an angle, which is a bit problematic because it's going to have to come up to the existing filler in the bottom of the cockpit footwell. But I think I can use some more flexible rated fuel hose for that. And this is just the breather, the vent. As far as the return goes for the excess fuel from the engine, I'm going to set it up so it tees into the outlet line just ahead of the Raycor filters. I have 2 Raycor filters. I won't get into the whole fuel system setup, even the temporary version, because I haven't figured it all out yet, but I paid $15 for this thing. You can't be, even if it doesn't pressure test right, it's not leaking at all. It's just really filthy. There doesn't seem to be any corrosion much. All right. I don't think there's a lot of corrosion inside because no particles came out in the sample, just old fuel. Yeah, even if it doesn't check out, it's $15 and it was on my way home. I just had to stop at some guy's house on my way home from the boat. So that's really cool. I'm really happy about that. This is only going to be temporary, but it holds, I think this is a 13, what is it, capacity? It's a 13-gallon tank. That with my boat, with this little engine, I could go well over 200 miles. I think that'll be adequate. If I can get it set up and be reliable, that'll keep me going on Barnegat Bay for the first year at least. And the score of the month, possibly of the year, is these two. Got them both, not still in the original box, but unused. Got the pair of them for $70. There's no maker's mark, but if these are the ones I think they are, they list for almost $350 a pair. So they're chromed bronze, and they're bigger than the ones that are in my idea is to replace the two in the forward corners of the aft deck. They're bigger, which is going to introduce problems in fitting them in there, but I have ideas. When we go back to the boat, I'll do a little show and tell on how I might be able to make that work. Or I could, if they don't work out, I could sell them for $200. Anybody want some drains? They have some cool features. Let me show you. Okay, the first thing I like is that, well, aside from the quality, just check out how massive all this is. Really beautifully made, solid stuff. This isn't gonna crack if you step on it. And they also have a check valve in the form of a rubber ball that normally, when water's flowing down into it, lets the water pass. But if water, for some reason, is trying to come up the drain, well, it'll float up and create a seal, which is pretty cool. Not a major concern of mine, but it's nice to know it's there. They do sometimes get clogged up, because if dirt and debris gets down in there, but you can easily remove this to clean it out. I got to get or make a key for this. I don't know. It didn't come with it. But love them. What a bargain. And this here I picked up in Tom's River, minutes from the boatyard yesterday. I just happened to be looking. I've been looking for enough black locust to redo the planks on the aft deck. Now this is going to be a bit of a fussy do, milling it all down to the dimensions I need, but I'm pretty sure I have almost twice what I'm going to need to make a bunch of planks. It's a little rough, as you can see. It's got some massive inclusions, but I got this whole piece. It is, how long is it? 10 foot 7 feet long. Got it for $65, something like that. And it's good. Other than the obvious sapwood, there's even lichen growing in that one over there. Other than that, it's good stuff. It's already kind of quarter sawn, so I should be able to get some nice looking boards out of it. Anyway, I'm not concerned about the fact that I won't be able to get very long pieces out of that enormous 6-inch by 7-inch hunk of black locust, is because the full width of the boat at that bulkhead is just under 9 feet from the bulkhead to the stem, to the stern post, excuse me, is about 8 feet. So, and you got the tub right in the middle of the lazarette hatch in the middle of the aft part. My longest pieces will only be, I don't think even number 5 here will be more than 5 feet, even though I'm not going to put the covering board on. I'm not going to nib these. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do here, but I'm going to get the deck laid and then I can kind of work that out later. First, of course, I have to repair the walls of the tub and the frame underneath, but just talking about this piece and why I selected it, even though it's kind of funky, other than the fact that it was dirt cheap. Certainly a lot cheaper than teak. So yeah, and these are going to be 1.25 inches thick, and probably, I can't remember if it's 2.5, 2 3/8 the total width. Not time for me to worry about that yet, but I'll double check it when I go back to the boat. So when it's time to rip those, I'll rip them all here, put a bevel on them for caulking. Another way I'm going to try to save money on this is use the oakum that came with the boat. I have a box of really fresh, nice, greasy oakum. I'm going to try, because they're brand new seams, I think it'll work really well. I'm just going to drive in some oakum and chase it with that old Deck Systems teak sealant stuff. I can't remember the brand already. I showed it in an earlier episode. I ran into that guy, Rich, yesterday actually, and we were talking about the fact that they were past their shelf life, and he told me that he'd used the one tube that's open. That's one he used about 1.5 years ago, and he said it's holding up well. So I'm probably, that's something to do today. I'm gonna lay some on a piece of wood and as a sample and let it sit out in the weather and see what happens to it, even though it won't quite be the same thing. So I don't think I'm going to start cutting this stuff today. I'm not going back to the boat. Well, I'm going back this week, but not tomorrow. I want to wait for things to get a little warmer. I got to double check the weather, because it's gone back down to normal temperatures lately. I'm just going to spec this out, the bits I need, and make sure I have enough decent wood. It's unfortunate this is 2-inch. Most of what I need is 1.5 inches. This one on one side of the cockpit, I measured it at 2.25, but I can convert that to a 2-inch piece. It'll be all right. Yeah, and this is the long one that's very close to the forward bulkhead. That is rotten at both ends. I would be wise, and it's just yellow pine. It's got a bunch of holes drilled in it. It's in good shape other than the ends, but I think it'd be wise to replace it with this stuff, even though it's a fair amount heavier. This one, I've changed my mind. This is the one that's right along the forward edge of the tub. Half of it is perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to scab a piece across, all epoxy together, probably through bolted as well. And I think that'll be plenty strong enough. So I won't need the full 100 inches of that. Same with this one, behind the cockpit tub. You got the same situation. This whole half is facata, but this half, the port side, is beautiful. So I'll probably do the same thing. I have room to do it. I'm also going to frame out whether there's that big hole, I think it's 22-inch hole, something like that for the lazarette hatch. It wasn't framed out at all, so I might, in addition to that, I might add some diags or something, because it's just going to be a plank deck to give it a little more support, which will give this a little more support. And then I just need these 2 short ones on the sides. Let me check it out. All right, this could work really well. If I reproduce the long one with more yellow pine, I will get everything I need to do the other beams and some left over out of this 2-inch. The scabbing I can probably do with the 3/4-inch white oak that I have. Although I have enough here to do at least one of them to make a nice block. And the reason I'm doing that, even though I have 2 of these boards, I have an idea about a temporary / semi-permanent sort of tiller. I'm trying to save this other piece to make a 1-piece temporary / semi-permanent tiller, because this tiller is done. It's rotten. Yeah, it's toast. It's not repairable. There might be bits of it that are good enough that I can use them for other things. And eventually I'm gonna make one like this, not quite as fancy, probably won't have a lot of the same features, but there's really no point in trying to salvage it, unfortunately. It was a beautiful thing when it was new, but it wasn't cared for well. It just sat in the boat without a cover for who knows how long. I will salvage the hardware though. This is the flagpole holder, and this plate protects the tiller from the block, from the main sheet block and tackle. This is a little too wide. Yeah, this section here is almost 2 1/4 inches. My stock is only 2 inches, but that's all right. I can compensate with a washer, maybe even plastic washers on either side. Again, this is kind of temporary, but I'll make it last as long as I can and maybe take my time, have an ongoing project where I laminate a brand new one along the same lines out of, I don't know, ash or a mix of ash and something else, or who knows. I've been researching that since I bought the boat, and there's so many opinions about which wood is best and whether you should do a solid one or laminate. If this oak one lasts a year, I'll be happy. I guess I'm gonna varnish it, I'm not sure. But I'm gonna trace it out, trace this onto it, so that I can rough cut as much excess off as I can, and then bring it back to the boat and do the final cut with the bandsaw, because I don't have a bandsaw here. I don't want to bring that thing back here anytime soon, and I don't have anything else that'll cut this. You certainly can't do this with a jigsaw. Well, now that I've traced it out, I can see that it's probably going to want to break if I do it like this with that lovely drop, with that swoop, especially if I profile it starting about here. It has a more or less round cross section. I don't even know how I'm going to carve this. I don't have spoke shavers, or I'm sure as hell not investing in that kind of fancy stuff just for this project. I might do it with a grinder and then sand the crap out of it. But anyway, yeah, this is going to, the grain is like that. It's going to want to break so badly, which is why these are almost always laminated. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify the shape. I don't need this drop necessarily. I think I'm just going to make it run more or less straight from here and forget all that nonsense. Okay, I got to make a transition from here to here. In fact, so wherever this arc is shallowest, right about there. Oh, I gotta probably make a very subtle transition there. Right about here, I gotta make it come in and sort of taper. This is all just a starting point. At least we quite a bit left over. This could be a good piece for scabbing a deck beam. I like it. Well, and all that too. Yeah, this makes more sense. This will just break this profile. It'll be really cool. This is going to look a bit awkward to say the least. But anyway, it's temporary.